Okay, and we are back. Hopefully, my sound is coming through. I was having some technical difficulties for the first time. It's crazy. So, I'm going to go ahead and take a sip. Let some folks come in. This is my favorite mug. Stay up. This is my personal reminder to stay up on all things. Hopefully, my sound is coming through. I'm going to wait for a thumbs up or something that's going to come in. Then I will get started. Can you all hear me just fine? Hopefully. Yeah. No. Maybe so. Okay. Can hear me. So welcome. This is YM Sip and Stitch. I am the pilot, or therefore the host, LadyBug. I am also the founder and creative director of YarnMovement. That's why you see this beautiful background there and this vest that I just wanted to wear to show off. YarnMovement is a global fashion and lifestyle brand that's created to help consumers value craftsmanship. As a crafter and handcrafter myself, it's very important throughout this journey of making things and designing for folks that it is understood that that is our connection. We'll have connection forever the moment that we ever create something for you. And that is my goal with YarnMovement, of really building that connection from person to consumer and across the board. Secondarily, YarnMovement has a nonprofit arm called BelieveInWhatYouDream. BelieveInWhatYouDream was created to help young girls discover their superpowers. I personally believe that crochet is my superpower. I was introduced to it at 9 years old, and it's been the key tool to really forging myself through the space of making my dreams reality now. And it is my goal that now that I'm in this space, I made a promise to myself, and I dedicated the time to really say that once I was in position to do so, that I will turn around and pull up the next generation of powerful girl bosses, leaders of the future. And that is really the vision behind Believe in What You Dream. And we've been able to do just that over the course of the last 4.5 years or so. 2020, can we give a reset or something? Because, 2020 has been 2020. If we had any kind of dreams, goals, aspirations, plans, forget about it. But one thing I will say is that it really has allowed me personally on my personal journey to really take the time to pause, because normally, just as an internal movement, it's always been like boom, 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 boom. By this time, any other year, I probably would have been to like 6 or 7 countries. I'm always traveling, always on the move. And this has really been the universe's way to tell me to sit down, focus, and understand like what's going to come next. And for me, that is really building out a positive infrastructure for Believe in What You Dream that allows more people to grasp on. And not just anyone, but those who have a heart for really helping young girls be empowered to just move forward, understand like just how much power they really truthfully have. Because although we're utilizing me personally, I'm utilizing the vehicle of crochet as a way to forge this space. I'm open, and really that's what Believe in What You Dream is for, is to utilize as many vehicles as possible, because the goal is really to, as I said in the mission, help young girls discover their superpowers. Thank you so much for coming back, girls. Having problems with my sound. It could be also because it's for the first time in California. What? We have rain for 2 days. I know, it's crazy. It's normally like super hot right now and it's the middle of December. But yes. So nonetheless, one of the reasons why I decided to really begin to do these Sip and Stitches and come live, because normally this was something I was doing in person. I'm very, very, very much so all about connecting with people and, creating positive vibes. And, in the midst of this 2020 social distancing, it's just not a safe way of maintaining, especially since one of my main responsibilities day to day is taking care of my grandmother and my father. So I don't need to have that kind of drama coming in on my body and exposing that kind of, elements into their space. So with that, here we have these live virtual sip and stitches that are happening where I'm just kind of talking. Ultimately, the goal is to really talk about these beanies, tell you like inspiring stories about the journey. For me, it's been 20 years as an entrepreneur. So, I mean, you can name anything. I've probably gone through it. And guess what? I'm still here. I've made it. You know, I have probably been bruised, but nothing has caused me to stop. And so, with that, I believe that that is a superpower in itself. And if I can some way, you know, encourage a younger mind or anyone who's listening to feel that same, you know, like persistence, confidence to really just move forward in a way where, you know, stop is not an option for you. That's what we're here for. So these beanies, I'm making them live by doing the granny squares and sharing a space with other crocheters or those who just know how to make granny squares, because then we get to collectively say that we are helping young girls really discover their superpowers by empowering them through the sale of something that we started with just our hands, right? And so beautiful beanies. One beanie is enough to impact two girls. And when I say impact, that term is a very interesting term because, you know, it's used very loosely at times. But for me, I'm going to give you my definition of impact. Impact for me is being able to walk in and make a change today. I know it's crazy, right? But make a change today. And so crochet is one of those things that can easily happen. Once you get it, it kind of like just snaps. And I don't mean once you get it, once you get the skills, once you get the understanding that you are capable of making something, you know, and you're using colorful yarn. Yarn is not threatening, no matter what color it is. It's not a threatening thing. You can touch it, you can pull it, you can throw it, you can never damage it. And that is really symbolic of your dreams. You should be able to touch them. You should be able to feel them, and no one should be able to come in to damage them, but you also should be able to control them. And so if they're able to get that, which every girl is actually capable of doing, whether it be the introduction of the yarn or just the presence of the conversation or the feeling of having someone walk in who could be a complete stranger and tell you that, hey, you're capable of doing this. So tell yourself you can do it and go for it. All right. And so there's a 3-part workshop that's connected to this impact process that starts off with journaling your journey. Well, really, it's making a dream catcher. And that dream catcher is the visual aesthetic that is required to just be a daily reminder for yourself that, you know, you can wake up and go to sleep to the same thing every night and just know that, hey, I do actually have a dream. And the dream catchers that are being made, you actually had a hand in creating it. You know, this is not you going out and purchasing a dream catcher from someone. This is you personally understanding what your dreams are, putting some kind of emotion and some energy behind the movement of your hands, and creating something that is an expression of that moment and that you put up. So no matter what, you know that, hey, that's yours completely. Like no one did that for you. You didn't go out and buy it and, you know, this is yours. Secondarily is journaling your journey. I think that many of us understand the journaling process of really just writing down, you know, like your dream, writing down a thought, writing down a vision, right? Thought visions, whatever way it comes in. And you're capable of writing it down. But there is a step that's missing in that, you know, if I would say for myself, if I was encouraged or even introduced to it sooner and really with the caveat of this is that, you know, I've always heard practice makes perfect, you know, continue until you master it, you know, putting your 10,000 hours. Those are all things that come out. But I think it's another thing when you're actually utilizing it as the practitioner of the thought, right? Where you're like, practice makes perfect. So if you have a journal and you say, well, this is my thought, this is what I would like to do. So let's just say I'm going to roll 100 yarn balls, right? Having a plan attached to that where you have it written down, now it's made in simple form, right? Where you wrote down what the goal was. You wrote down somewhat of a plan, but now it takes action. And then also, just as much as you wrote down the plan, writing down what worked and what didn't. And that part is important, very important to the process, because again, over the last 20 years, I can say that I've repeated a lot of processes over and over again. And had I wrote out just the couple steps that I took, or the people that I spoke to, or the parts that did work, I probably would have been able to speed up my process a little bit more. And so that is the goal of just showing that correlation with thoughts, actions, and results. Okay. Lastly is the crochet lesson. And that's really what ties it all together, because that's what builds a community. There is something very strong about when, I don't know, for me, when I see people crocheting, I'm like naturally drawn to them, because I'm like, oh, I crochet too. And we probably have a lot of similarities, like carrying bags with yarn all the time, or wearing things that are crochet, walking into stores. Like I try to avoid by all costs. This is not true anyway, but I'm just going to say, I try to avoid by all costs that if I do have to go into the store to buy yarn, I have to have in my mind something written down of like what actually I'm going in there for, because I'm like, squirrel, I'm not going to get everything. And I know I don't need any more yarn. I'm going to post this video that I haven't posted because it's kind of like really embarrassing. Like, it's crazy. I'm literally just going through and I'm looking for one yarn because I know I have it. And in that moment, I just kind of like refuse to purchase the same yarn over again. And so I literally dumped everything that I have. And girl, it's so crazy. You're like, I need more yarn. I know. Because you just see stuff and it just looks so good, But I'm going to post that video so you guys can see how crazy the process can be. But with that, it's important to be able to, just as we had a connection there on wanting more yarn, that's community. That's finding something that, you have in common with someone. And that is very important to the journey, because far too often we could go down a journey and, or make a decision, step out on faith and feel very, very alone within the footsteps. This is beyond having your faith and, whoever you may pray to. Me, it's God. I'm praying to God every day that my steps are correct, that he's anointing my steps and my journey's correct. But like, it could be very isolating and alienating at the same time, because you're defining these moments, and when people don't recognize or understand or have not seen it before, it just so weird. It's just over there. Right. And so it's important to have that community base where you can find mentorship. You can, edify each other, be support, coming live every Sunday since February is, that's dedication of time, and so for me, one other person coming is fine for me. And like, I don't need a million people to come on. It's one other person. Let me know that one other person in the world, 2 other people, 10, whatever it ends up being, has something in common, that is feeling inspired to give an hour to, hour and a half of their time to sit back and hear me speak is important to me, And so showing that through this connectivity of having, beyond just being a girl, beyond just, being smart in school, like in certain subjects, is something that connects us, that doesn't require the same language to be spoken, that when you see a bin full of like beautiful hand spun yarn, that, it's instantaneous. You run over to it, smiling, huge smile, because you think about all the great things that you can create from it. That's what Believe in What You Dream is for me. And creating that connectivity throughout the whole process of this ecosystem that's being created around yarn movement. It's not one-sided in any way. I'm not competitive in that way with other people. I'm more so competitive with myself. I'm trying to be a better me than I was yesterday every day. And so when it comes to the space of being able to say, share and really support and cultivate a community, it's important to do so in a way where if you see something that, if you believe in someone else and their brand, and you see a way fit where you can help, it should actually become a part of your intentions and, like your ethos of life to like want to really help, and for me, Believe in What You Dream is that, you literally take the words of lift as you climb, and you're able to really touch the lives of other people who are coming right behind your footsteps, even if they didn't even know that that was a path for them, because you never know until you're, introduced to it. And so that's what it all is for. And that's why we're here looking at these granny squares. I actually pulled out red, white, and green today. I mean, you guys know why. It's the holiday season. But I still do need to finish up this granny square beanie that I've started. So these are the squares. You need 8 squares. Hopefully I have 8. Yeah, I have 8 done. And so I just need to add one more color, which that color will be black, because I love to keep it traditional. But in the meantime, I'm going to work on this square, and I'm actually going to pull out the topic of today. I was really inspired to just share this because this is really how I feel. I've been a part of and facilitating a few conversations this week, really with fellow business owners, not necessarily those who are crafters, but those who are just business owners, Black business owners, small business owners, and just understanding the importance, again, of cultivating this space of community. And the number one thing that stands out for me that, the question is posed, like, what has been your influence to start business and keep it going for the course of these last 20 years? And I would say ownership. That, everyone is not built to work for people. I'm one of those people. I can work in groups. I can, do collaborations very well. I can work on things for you. I can take on responsibilities, but it's something about the ownership piece. And this is something that was ingrained in my life from, childhood, spending time with my grandmother, and especially my grandmother on my dad's side in this instance. I speak a lot about the grandmother on my mom's side, which is my grandmother, Virginia, but my grandmother, Ruth, was a business owner, and had been running business and had been introduced to business at a very young age growing up in Louisiana. Our family owned a smoke shop and a smoke shop, meaning like the smokehouse shop of smoking meat. Okay, just have to be clear because smoke shop means a little different now. But smoking meat and curing pork. And then also she was I would say a Olympic canner, right? Anything that was grown in a garden, like everything was being canned, and those things were being sold and people were purchasing. By the time that I came about, she had a restaurant. She also ran a few group homes. And so this is something that was a part of my life, right? And I got to see her intentionality of ownership, because I can't say that I ever saw her or, walk into like a business. It was always something that she controlled. And so that always stuck out to me because, again, the quote goes, if you don't own it, you don't control it. And that is really penetrating a lot in my work, not just with YarnMovement and Believe in What You Dream, but my work also with Story to Brand. And any community I'm a part of is heavily a part of my conversation because, that is the key, throughout travel, that is the key to, healing, solving poverty, addressing it at least, where people have an opportunity to make and own their own money and therefore control their outcomes is very important. And so that is what I would like to talk about today. Ownership. And discuss how, it could be thought of as a simple term of ownership, but I will tell you, and if you all are business owners yourself, you understand the fatigue that is attached to having a vision of, owning your own business and falling into spaces where you can potentially, work so hard to get your business to a certain space. And then once you get it to that spot, it's time to sell off a piece. And there's a billion shows about, pitching your business to get more money. And they want to take a large portion of your business in exchange for, you know, all of the hard work, blood, sweat, and tears that you put into it. And I think it's important to understand, like, you know, how you can utilize the space to really hone in and understand your own value. Because when you understand your value and your numbers, it becomes a different conversation. And I can speak from personal experience because that has been the thing that, you know, has probably taken me the longest to get here, made me take, you know, and I shouldn't say the longest because, you know, one of the things I posted today was saying that, you know, success is a marathon, not a sprint, which we've all heard. But I would challenge it and take it a little bit further and say that what the term marathon without a definition, it requires additional like thought, like marathon. If we were to think about time, how much time? So for me, I'm talking 20 years. So 20 years ago, I had the vision to start the business that I'm running today. It took me 20 years to get here comfortably, you know, or, you know, another thing is money, you know, marathon. So we think about, you know, how much money not only did you invest, but did you lose and did you miss out on because of on this marathon and not sprinting into a bad decision, you know? And lastly, talking about bad decisions, you know, understanding that, you know, I really like this when I was listening to a conversation yesterday that just said basically success is the inverse of failure, which was very, very like solid, like thought for me, because when you think about it in that way, you understand that along this journey of failing, no matter if you're failing quick, slow, or takes a process of getting there, failure is not a negative when you look at it being the inverse of success is required to happen. And that really is something that is encouraging to hear because there's several times where, you know, we're in a space now where, you know, IG, Facebook, Instagram, everything has like kind of like taken over this space where you're putting the best version of yourself out and doing that best version of yourself. Once everything cuts off and turns off, you know, as a business owner, you also understand how many different caps you have to wear, right? And so on one side is the part that many of us love, which is the marketing and promotion, right? Where we're like the face. We have these products, we have our favorite things that we're creating, and we get to show them off and show you how you can buy them. That's one part. The other part of it is understanding that the business side, right? Do you have your business really registered? And when registered, not just a DBA, but actually a separate EIN for your business that you have, along with a bank account that matches your business. You know, because if you're in that space, especially for 2020, you're not a struggling business at that point, right? There's how many grants that are coming out, and the main requirement is for you to have a business, but a separate EIN with a bank account was all you needed to go through and get grant money to get you through the next 8 or 9 months, right? But if that was a part that was skipped because you're so focused on only wearing this one hat of being creative, you have all of this incredible product, but you find yourself in a space where you can't take advantage of even selling it because you are relying on doing this, you know, in-person event that you can't do anymore because everything's canceled. So what are you going to do? And if you just so happen to be one of the individuals where, you know, you say, well, let's just say you have an account. You have an account on like a Facebook. Everyone has a Facebook account at some point, right? And you know, you don't really use it for business. And now you've hit 2020 and you didn't spend any time establishing just the initial steps of writing, you know, like how people can contact you and at least adding your friends and family to your page so they can know that, oh, wow, you have been spending time really trying to get this done. You know, you're lost. And being in that space is very, very hard if you don't have, again, this community that you can go back to where they're okay with you coming in, being as vulnerable as you can be and say, hey, I really need help with this because I can't figure out what I'm doing wrong. And to be in a space where you trust that person or those people in that group well enough where you can accept what they're getting ready to say to you, like, hey, these are the steps you need to do. And understand also that, I mean, I can give you a prime example, like, within my business of doing branding, I spent a good portion of last year having a bunch of like go cold calls where I'm telling people, hey, I see your business. I see you're doing very well. You know, I noticed that you don't have a digital marketplace or even an imprint at this point. If I go and Google your name is not at the top. This is your brand. At least your brand should be popping up at the top, not every other ad that's paying for it, And I've had a bunch of hangups. No, I don't need this at this time. To, where I'm telling them like, okay, so what happens if you can't do your business traditionally in person, where people are coming into your storefront? You don't have any kind of setup online. Have you thought about, anything can happen. And March hit of this year, and voila, business is booming because they're like, oh, you were right. And I'm like, well, why didn't you call sooner? And they're like, well, I didn't want to hear you tell me I told you so. And I was just like, well, why would I do that? I already spent enough time telling you that part. And even just having that kind of response really put us in a space where we can get right to work without going through the rigmarole of like, okay, well, how many people have you helped? What are you doing? Because it's just like, I'm a full example of what every bad decision, pitfall may look like on this journey of being an entrepreneur. I've been through it. Every part. I've had business partners steal money from me. Like I've got my car repossessed. I was staying on somebody's couch for a while. Like I had a store. I didn't have a store. I moved from place to place. Like I can speak to all of those, finally, after a course of a couple of times, I finally went through the process of not just having a DBA. So when I said that earlier, that was me. I can speak to that. And understanding that when I'm applying for grants and, for business loans that, look, I'm getting too into this conversation, a little head wrap popping off. But, like I'm applying for business loans and applying for different things, unknowingly that I'm not even going to be accepted from the beginning because I can't even cross off the initial 10 check box, 10 boxes to check off, And so now when I made the decision to go through and actually turn and, like rename, rebrand to create YarnMovement, that's what the movement is for me. Understanding that, I was that person who just was hoping that people that I was around, these are like people who are successful, like, in their industries and in this industry, who could have easily just gave me 1 or 2 points of saying, hey, girl, this is what you need to do. You probably shouldn't do it this way because in my experience, these are the things that happen, right? Because again, there's more than enough opportunity on the table. We're not in competition. More so, we should be talking about how we can go about doing it together. And in this industry of crafting, crochet, knitting, whatever it may be, let's just look at, a very interesting part of this journey is being able to put your wares on display, right? Photo shoots, magazine, features, fashion shows. Fashion shows. Let's talk about fashion shows and how it relates to, ownership. If you don't own, you don't control it. All right. So when we look at fashion shows, making this decision, if you're doing a fashion show to make money or to show off, there's a difference, right? Making money means you're in business. You're always looking for an ROI if you're in business, right? Showing off is just spending your time to create wares, being very excited about them, having people wear them on a runway, take photos, and you're done. Then you have photos to come back to, like, oh, I remember I did this show. How about you do both? Make some money while you're doing it, right? The way to do that is that you also have to understand the retail market and the consumer market beyond just making things, one-offs. I love one-offs. This jacket, this vest, right? It matches my backdrop. It matches the colors. The design is not a one-off. I can make the design in solid colors. I can pick the 1 or 2, 3, look at the Pantone colors for the year, make them in that color. I'll fall in line with everything that people go Google and see online, right? Which is a thought process of how you think about it, because the intention is that you have to understand how are you going to sell. Secondarily, understanding who's going to buy. 2 people in that instance. You have buyers who are buying for stores, and then you also have buyers who are buying for themselves. Who's going to bring you more value? Buyers who are buying for stores, right? So in the instance of those, depending on what kind of show it is and what kind of pool you can have as far as what buyers are going to show up, you may be in a space where they're like, I love that vest. Oh my gosh, we need to have these in our store. Their minimum could be 200 pieces, right? That's where the community comes back in. Because if you have a community of crocheters, handcrafters, who understand how to make this look like this, collectively, y'all just make some money off a fashion show. That's business. That's how you do collaborations. There is no competition in that except for making sure you get those 200 pieces done collectively, right? And that's the part that I don't see enough people talking about. And fashion industry is very tough. I'll sit here and let you know I've seen a bunch of it all. I've been a commissioned designer for luxury brands. I worked in the space. I've worked as, like an associate designer. And I've seen how cutthroat things can get, where if you don't have your business in line, where you have set up yourself in a way where you have control, you will be beat, you will be destroyed. And in my case, I like to call it bruised, because you get over bruises, right? You remember what happened? It bruised for a while, just as a reminder of make sure you don't let this happen again, right? But you have to put yourself in position where you own it to control it. That is my message for today. Own it to control it, okay? Let's get bruised. If we have to, use those bruises as a teachable moment for the next round of individuals who are coming, and figure out how we can come into a space and work together in a way where we can make a profit, because that's business. What name does it need to be under? Who cares if you're making money? Who cares? I mean, that's something I don't care about. I can go under anybody's name. As long as we agreed on what the rate is and we're in an agreement, have a contract, and payout is looking what it needs to look like, let's go. Right? Same thing for taking that same concept of community and making sure, like, that's almost like when you all see or hear me say, hey girl, hey, go sis, go. Both of those are an unspoken way of me saying, keep going. If you find yourself in a space where you need one person to support you or a group of people, holla at me. Because I understand what it feels like to be in those spaces where you're isolated and you feel alone and you feel like you can't tell nobody, because the moment you tell people, you become vulnerable to their thoughts and their whatever picture they want to paint for you, right? But if you own it, you can control it. And that's not only just the business, but that's owning your journey. That's owning your story. Being able to be in a space where you walk in and, you walk in with the intentions, you understand what your passion is, you understand what the purpose you have attached to it, and you understand a plan that's going to lead to a profit. Stick to that. Stick to your own plan. And if that plan has to be somehow modified to be inclusive of something that is going to end in a profit that doesn't compromise your initial passion or purpose, that lets you know that's for you. But if it does and it doesn't feel right, back off. I back off of a lot of stuff because I have to. Like, one of the things about crocheting for me is that it's very spiritual. It's a spiritual journey, right? So like the things that you're creating, they're so connected with your thoughts to your hands, because I definitely just believe in this think link. Everything that you're thinking is linked to your hands or something that you're doing, right? And so if that is the case, anything negative that you allow into your space becomes a part of what you produce. Excuse me. And when you're making stuff for people and you're providing a gift in the format of what you're creating, you can make sure it's not tarnished by understanding where you stand and being bold in that presence of saying, when you hear all money ain't good money, that's one of those moments, right? Where there's a very easy way to fall into this space, where this trap, I would call it, where my friend has hashtagged it to slave to the grind, right? To the point where you're so mentally enslaved into grinding that you don't realize that you're in a better space where the grind, although it was important, a part of your journey, is not a necessity at a certain point for you to have to grind. No, you just have to plan and take action. Plan for it. If your plan needs to be adjusted, modify it, keep on going. Don't allow stop to be a part of your, options available. It's always constantly being in movement. And if you have gotten yourself to a certain level of, goes back to that metaphor, lift as you climb, where on your own personal stairwell, you're going to get to a place where you run out of steps. But if you haven't helped and connected with enough people, you can't even go up their paths or even be pulled up by them, because you've been so alone. And so you are going to stop until you spend time to figure out, okay, how I'm going to build this in thin air. But why would you take out that extra portion of the time, a part of your marathon, when you could have been handed off, passing off a baton, or somebody passing off to you to say, hey, I'm done with this part, and you do the same. And I think that for me, that is the key, and I'm so passionate about it in this moment, because I was just watching a live as I was getting prepared earlier today, of Toby and Fats and, the whole crew. They released a new song today. And one of the people that I just hold at the highest regard of just like people who are like mentors. So mentors are for me are people who are 10 times to 100 times, sometimes 100 times more successful than I would like to be. Than I am now, and who are still above like 10% of where I'm heading and what the future is going to look like. Right. And so one of those people for me is Steve Stout. And so Steve Stout comes on, and, even that just shows you how connectivity is important when you need to take the time out to stop and, provide a few gems for people to help them get to the next step, while maintaining your space too, right? And so he comes on and he's like, he said it. He just like, well, he said, own that shit. So I take it and just say ownership means that you control it, right? But I just felt like it was just so in line with the thought process, because, when I look at all the different things that have gone on, like just over the course of these last 20 years, I think about the parts that didn't go my way is when I relinquished my power or didn't have enough ownership to control it or speak up. But crochet for me has always been something I've owned, right? Like always, like even in the space where I'm designing for people and I'm doing custom work, I still control a design because I understand things that people don't understand who's being made for. For them, it's just like, oh, I just wanted to look like this. And it's just like, well, certain things have to be put in place so it lasts and for that vision to come to life. And so I'm just going to repeat over and over again, ownership to control it. And find some good people to work with. And, I'm public service announcement saying publicly, like, if you're interested in doing some work with Believe in What You Dream, where we can come together and figure out a way where we can find a body of girls to speak to in a way where we're helping to empower them, let's go. If you want to send over some granny squares, it takes 8 to make a beanie. So we can take the beanie and sell it. Do that. I'm getting ready to launch a program in January with one of my college classmates who she has a nonprofit. She's based in Michigan. And her program is called Grit, Glam, and Guts. And she's working with young girls. It's a leadership program. And they have like a really cool summer program where they're taking the girls to Michigan State over the summer. And we have a little bit over 130 girls I'm going to be teaching to crochet virtually. And we're also going to be doing some more work together. Let's see, I have another project I'm working on in Haiti at a school there. I realized last year in East Africa that while the part that I didn't finish with the Dream Girl Kids. Okay, hold on, let me go back. So with the Dream Girl Kids, we know that it's the 3-part program for the actual workshop itself. So it's to create the dream catcher, is make the journal your journey, and learn to crochet, right? Just the basics that we're doing. So it's a 2-hour workshop. But inside the Dream Girl Kid, they're getting things that are going to help them sustain daily life. And those things include personal hygiene products, right? Soaps, lotions, things that make you feel and smell like a woman, girl, And on top of that, the sanitary products, which is a very, very important one because sanitary products are very hard to get your hands on, given whatever space you're coming in. And this is not just an international thing, being in rural or underdeveloped communities. This is something that happens right here in the States, where financial, like disparities within the household have caused families, especially, to be in a space where they have to make really hard decisions and weigh in on, am I going to buy chicken, bread, and milk for my family? I mean, I should probably say a few vegetables in there for those who don't have meat or dairy, but you know what I mean? Where are you going to buy food for your family, or are you going to buy some sanitary products that you're going to use and throw away? They're going to go with the food. And so sanitary products were included last year. I actually partnered with an organization in East Africa called AfriPads, and it's a group of local women, and they make reusable sanitary products. And when I say reusable, the actual product itself is kind of like similar to the product that goes into Thinks, where it's like it's retaining the moisture, and then you just have to wash them, and then you can use them. They have a half-life of like 2 years, and so they can use inside these packages. It comes 4 inside, and they can use them for 2 years. So they just have to wash them, dry them, and put them inside of the envelope that comes in, and use them over and over again. And that was important too, because given the space of being in certain areas, and especially if it's underdeveloped, that also means that the sanitation system is not something that's developed. So we don't want to make additional trash. So that just worked for that region, along with a very, very important one, which you see here, it's light. And we're providing solar lamps for every single girl. So that's what's going in the Dream Girl Kids. So that's why it's so important to go through. And if you're interested in sponsoring or somehow working together to do a fundraiser to really raise funds for Believe in What You Dream, let's talk about it. These girls are very important. We worked with over 3,000 last year who all got the products, and we were able to impact them. But honestly, it just wasn't enough anyway. We were there for the whole month, and my goal was to work with 300 girls. I bought enough product for 3,000 because most of it was wholesale, so I had to buy so much. And we hit our number. The very first school, it was 1,200 kids at the school. And I knew right then that moments like this, talking and speaking and encouraging, sharing inspiring stories would hit somebody's heart if you have a compassion for it. And we should be able to do something moving forward. Should have been in 2020, but We're looking at 2021, okay? So if you're interested in doing that, like I said, granny squares, because I haven't done any crocheting right now, but these are important conversation for me. I'm still working on another. I'm doing some blue, green, orange. This one, it has purple on the outside, and then I pulled out red, white, and green, which I guess I'm gonna have to make a square now, and post for when I encourage people to come watch this video. I'm gonna put ownership means you control it, okay? Because it's important. Okay, and so what else do I have coming up? Oh, hold on for a second, because I have to go get this because I don't have this over here. So 1 second. Okay. So I am going to be doing the Sip and Stitches live, right? I'm live right now, but actually curated. I believe in really creating like events, especially if we're in person, but we're not in person. So we have to do this not in person. So I don't know if you guys have saw already, but I'm creating what I call the Sagey Kid, right? And so Sagey stands for Stitch Everywhere You Go. So Sagey. And it is my goal to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to stitch everywhere you go safely, because I just believe in that. It's all about movement, right? And so inside these kits, especially for the Sip and Stitch, everything I'm not going to show you because you have to sign up so you can get the rest of the goodies. But in every single Sagey kit, you're going to get two things of yarn, right? So that goes in there. A Sip and Stitch pin. Shout outs to, oh wait, can you see that? Let's see. I always see makeup tutorials when they're like this. They're like, do you see that? All right, but Shawnee P's Corner is her name on Instagram. So these are our Sip and Stitch pins. So when you sign up for a Sip and Stitch, you get this, you get some yarn. There's a hook that comes in here. And then there's other stuff that I'm not going to show you because you just have to sign up and see what's in there. But also something that's cool about this is that you can actually stitch safely, because I totally believe that, when I'm normally in person, I am the one that always has a bag, and it's normally like a bag, and it's just like, girl, where are you going? You're supposed to be coming out to have drinks. Why are you bringing this big old bag, right? And so I'm like, this one I can bring and still like make a coaster for myself and still have a picture and still, be the extra person I am, as everyone likes to say. But what's cool is that these little bags, you feed the yarn through the top, like so, like that. Like, right? And then you can close it up and you can just stitch there. And it's not, you can have your little cute bag on the table. Hey, girl, hey. And then just like, work on your little project while you're talking. And it doesn't take away from your moment and making you have like this big old bag here. Like, and then looking for stuff, right? Because, the other thing is, let me drop a pair of scissors in here. So like, sometimes when you're looking for your tapestry needle, right? The little things, they like get lost all the time. So if you have it in this bag, this big old bag, you're always constantly looking, right? But now you can just put everything like right here, and then you can just grab it. It's all in one place. You can have your scissors in there, right? Y'all know I love these crane scissors. And that one is rose gold. But yeah, so on the 27th of this month, and then every other following last Sunday of every month, I'm going to be doing these curated versions of these. We have special guests and giveaways. And then for the SIP, I'm inviting whether it be bartenders or other fellow business owners who have like a mix or a drink, and they'll be Maybe, possibly. No, but they'll be inside the bag when you get it. And so we can all sip the same thing and work on a project together and really build a community and have a touch point beyond just coming live on, YouTube or Instagram and not being able to all engage. And meanwhile, we have something that we can say that we have together and continue to do it over and over again. So look out for, it's actually posted on Eventbrite already, but I'll be sure to send out more messaging because you guys know that I love marketing and being all over, because what else I'm going to do? I'm in the house, right? It's a nice break to go and create something on the phone or on, on the computer, or record something on the camera and do a quick little edit on it, because otherwise, trying to organize yarn and figure out my life. Yeah. So look out for the information for that. I'm going to continue to come live every Sunday to just talk, share tips. I decided to talk about business today because I rarely get to do it in a space of being creative, because most people walk in with a misconception that, this, for whatever reason, is a hobby for me, and it's never been a hobby from the beginning. Not since I was 11 years old. So with that being said, I'll be sure to continue to bring more and more information just regarding the journey, sharing things that, I wish somebody would have told me, so I could have got here quicker. But, that's not here or near. But as I said, continue, please, to, if you are on this journey of following your dreams, be sure to continue to be encouraged. Don't give up. Don't allow stop to become an option for you. Keep on going. If you're not already following Yarn Movement, please do so. Let's, like and follow and subscribe to each other's channels and build community, and, be the type of support, be the change that we want to see in each other, And with that being said, this is S.Ladybug. Run down the list again. Yarn Movement, lifestyle, fashion and lifestyle brand created to inspire consumers to value craftsmanship. The shortest version of that is that I always say embrace your dopeness within that. We have BelieveInWhatYouDream as a way to a nonprofit. It's a 501c3. So all donations that are going to it are all tax write-offs. If you're interested in making a donation to BelieveInWhatYouDream in the ongoing work, please visit donate.yarnmovement.com. You can feel free to visit the website as well, Yarn Movement. It's in the process of really being more reflective of all the different ideas that 2020 has allowed me to come up with. And if you're interested in collaborating, let's chat. But until next time, I left my sip over here. It's probably cold now. As our President Obama say, stay up if you're in America, but just stay up anyway. And I will see you all next time. This is S.Ladybug signing out. Hopefully to see you next Sunday and then on the 27th. All right. Peace.